being unable to, okay, being unable to balance work and family life, having time for our children as well is also another challenge. I want you to be writing in the comment box so that I know what to understand why female children tend to be closer to their father and vice versa. Thank you very much for that as well. So these are some of the things we'll be looking at. Device is a major one. And according to Common Sense Media, it says that 42% of kids have a phone by the age of 10, by the age of 12, 71%, and by the age of 14, 91%. And that is, and the question that came to mind, while preparing for this is, if you knew what you know today about devices, either mobile phones or what have you, will you have given your 10 years old a mobile phone? That's a question that came to mind. That's a question that I would like us to explore quickly. Just one or two answers, maybe in the chat box, or if we are permitted to speak. No, okay. Betty said no. Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason for that? Is there any other comment there? Please, the question again. So if you knew what you knew now, we're talking about devices. If you knew what you knew now, will you give your 10-year-old a phone? So the phone and parents struggle to have control. Yes. So I'm hearing something. No. Okay. I'm hearing something. Of course, no. I'm hearing something which is very, important. And what majority of us have said is that, no, if I know what I know now, I wouldn't have gone that route that I've gone by giving them a phone. Of course, it has its advantage, or advantages. But what we know now, if I know as well, I wouldn't have given my 10-year-old child a phone when I did. So what does that tell us? We as parents, it is very important. Can we mute, please? It is very important and critical that we make informed decisions. Every decision we make affects directly or indirectly the lives of our children. Okay? For some people, and this is not a blame game, we are learning here. And that's why we are looking at child's development, because with what we are learning today, you may have known it already. But remember what we said, we're learning, unlearning, and relearning. If I knew that devices will not do my child good at 10, I wouldn't have, but we thought it would. So it's the same thing with what we are learning today, which is child development. And that leads me to what is child development? So child development refers to the physical, it comprises of the physical, the cognitive, the social, the emotional, and of course, we can't leave out the spiritual growth of a child. And this occurs throughout a child, through their transformation from being a child to a young person, and then transitioning to being an adult. Okay, all of this encompasses what the development of that person from a point of birth to a point of, death. It's a continuum, and it's depending on how much life we have. So this is what we're going to look at today. We're not going to focus on the physical. We look at the cognitive, which is more of the mental, the brain. We'll talk a bit about that, the emotions and the social growth. That's what. And why understand this? Why do we need to understand this? We need to understand this because we need to know if the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable, like we always say. So it contributes to building that strong relationship that we are talking about, father-child, mother-child relationship. And then it fosters, good and healthy emotional development. And it just prepares the idea of having a child. If I ask you that question, why do you want to give birth to a child? Is it because this is what the world demands of you, or you have a reason for giving birth to the child? So the first thing for you is understanding why you have that child. And then the purpose of having a child will then leverage on that fact to determine how I am going to foster that relationship so that I will nurture this seed that's been given to me to become a functional and effective adult in future. Now we talk about so many things, adults that are not functional, they are just messing about, integrity, no integrity, and all that. It starts from a young age. Values, beliefs that's been instilled in them. Does it mean they take it all the time? No. Does it mean they have their own identity at some point as well as they go on? But it's important that we do our own ultimate best to ensure that we raise functional and effective adults that will benefit the community. And, lastly, we constantly have to review our expectations of these, our young ones. Sometimes it's a plus or a minus. So sometimes it's too high a expectation, and we have to, once we understand how the child develop, then we can, put a benchmark, and then we can always review and appraise. And, when there is need for us to seek for help, we need to seek for help. So we're going to be looking at the key stages of child's development. And we have, we're looking at 5 stages here. We start with the infancy. Infancy is from 0 to 2 years. We have the early childhood from 2 to 6 years. We have the middle childhood, which is from 6 to 12 years. We have the adolescence, which is very dear to my heart, really, 12 to 18 years. And then from 18 and above, you hear them say, I'm an adult. I'm an adult. I can make my decisions and all of that. But we are going to look at these are these are the key stages of a child's development. And we want to understand each of these stages. So we look at the infant stage, which is 0 to 2. The infant stage is 0 to 2. And here, what happens with 0 to 2? There is a rapid growth. This is where 1 minute you carry the child in your hand, helpless, can't do anything by themselves. They cry for everything. And the next minute, they are crawling, and you're thinking, where has time gone? And before you know it, they're trying to find their way to walking. You're thinking, ow, when did this happen? So we see it as a rapid growth. Their motor skills is being developed. We're going to talk about that. The motor skills comprise of 2 different ones. The fine one, and we're going to look at it. And it's also comprised of the sensory exploration, which comprises of the touch, the smell, the taste, the hearing, and the seeing as well. So this basic development happens at between 0 and 2, and the language skills and the social requirements that is needed is also very important. They grow, they develop this basic language, and they start saying, oh, maybe daddy, dad, mom, baba. Sometimes we rather than speaking to them, we use da 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 da, and da 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 da, something that is not cohesive. It is important from, you know, that from when a child is in the womb, conceived in the womb, you can speak to them, you can pray for them, they hear you. We see this even in the Bible with Elizabeth and Mary. And when Mary came in with the conception of John, the child leaped once he heard the voice of Mary. So when we can't say because they are still embryo, we don't speak to them. We have to speak life to them from the womb. And so we speak to them. So when they come out, you speak to them. They hear you. They may not be able to express it, but they hear you. They pick up. So when a house is so tensed up, you're always thinking, this child is still very young, can't understand anything, and you're always fighting. The house is toxic. You see that as the child grows, it expresses that. The child, he or she expresses that toxicness in one way or the other, because they are human beings as well. They have feelings. They may not be able to express it at that time. In early childhood, their language becomes better. They are developing. Their senses also are forming. Their vocabularies are they're forming their vocabulary. The motor skills also is refined, which talks about the large muscles and the small muscles. I'll talk about it in a minute. That is refined, so they are more coordinated. They can move without maybe falling frequently and all that. So also the emergence of self-identity, and in this stage we talk about they want to be independent. Sometimes say, don't do that, and they just grab their hand from you. They want to be independent, irrespective of whether they know what they are doing or not. It's just part of the stage of early childhood. And also they there is a bit of social skills. They want to have friends. They want to go to their friends. This is my friend. That's 2 to 6 years. This is not your friend within that age. They want to have their friendship to themselves. In the mid-childhood, which is between 6 and 12, we see that they're getting cognitive development is continuing and is more improved. Their memory is getting settled and getting better. Their problem-solving skills is getting, is improving as well. And their social development is also improving now. They sort of understand what friendship is. They understand in their own level, at that level, they understand what teamwork is with their friends. There is a way to do it. There's a way not to do it in their own way, put it that way. They also develop moral reasonings and a sense of this is right and this is wrong. Of course, along the lines, we still have to help them. In adolescence, this is the big one where the puberty kicks in. With puberty, there's significant physical change, and this is where the sense of identity really kicks in. There is a massive increase in their cognitive development. This is an ideal situation. What I am painting for you is an ideal situation. But of course, the variation is the parental factor. So this is why we need to know this, so that where we need to come in, we come in. And when we see that the kids are not, or the child is not developing rightly, we ask for help, we seek for intervention. There is help everywhere. So they are meant to develop cognitively. Their mental capacity should have increased. Their abstract thinking should have been developed. And yeah, I've talked about identity. They begin to talk about their own belief. They have their own, they think along a certain route or a certain line. This is where they question everything, because their thinking skills has developed, and they have a sense of identity as well, of course, helped by us. So they establish more matured relationship, pair relationship, and maybe romantic relationship as well. And they develop autonomy, which eventually prepare them for adulthood. All of these are really important, but we have a very important role to play because we are their primary fan, we are their primary mentor. Whatever is happening out there should be secondary. They should believe us first before they believe anything out there. Even when they believe things out there, they should come back to us to confirm. But there are ways to doing this to get the rapport running and to get the relationship to where it gets to that. So I was talking about the motto. The motto basically, we're talking about the ability to control and coordinate movements. So when you talk about the motor skill, there are two types of motor skills. There is the gross motor skill and there's the fine motor skill. So from childhood, from that first phase, that infant phase, some of these things will be developing. So at some point, if you notice that this is not developing, then you know that you need to speak to the doctor or your GP. So the gross motor, these are the large muscles in the body. And this is for strength. It helps with coordination. So like this is used for football. This is used for skipping. This is used for cycling. They are the large muscles that is needed to move for coordination. While the fine motor is just the small, the small muscles that may be used for eating, maybe for writing, for painting and stuff like that. But if these things are not developed at the right time, from based on what we have said, you need to seek for help medically. Also, we look at bonding. Bonding is also a very important one, especially when they are young. It starts from when they are in the womb, like I said, and when you start breastfeeding them and dad starts carrying them, they smell your body. There is a happy hormone that is released with this kind of connection, and it's called dopamine. Dopamine is an happy hormone released. It's a kind of reward hormone, but it helps with the connection. It helps with being happy, feeling a sense of reward for something, for caring for your child. So, and it goes all the way. This is the same hormone that is released when maybe your child gets a recognition at school. A 15-year-old gets recognition at school, or they are motivated to do something, or they are playing games, they are on their device. This is the kind of hormone that is released. That's why they are so engaged with what they are doing at that time. So bonding time, why is it that, and that's part of the question somebody asked, why is it that when these kids are young, it seems as if we bond with them, but when they start getting older, in fact, this day and age, it could be as as 6 years old. It could be 6 years old, anything from 6. You see those changes, and then it seems as if we can't control them anymore. That shouldn't be the case. We're going to explore this as we go along. But let's understand that bonding is key. It's a lifetime thing, building that rapport in the way we talk to them. We say respect begets respect. Sometimes I always say that I put myself in my daughter's shoe because I was once a teenager. And when I was a teenager, I say the same thing. It's just the concept of how do I put it? It's time that has changed. A teenager then and a teenager now, the difference is the conditioning, the variation in things that we do, and how the same way that we have been brought up then, you cannot say you will use that same method to bring them up now. What should be the same is the core value. Strategies should be different. For example, during our own time, during my own time, if my dad talks to me, I can't respond back. These days, they talk to you, you talk to them, they ask the why question, because this is the generation, what do we call them again? Gen Z generation. But our core values, which is respect, has to be still there. But the way we strategize to convey the message of respect to them cannot be the same, because we can't use a maybe 18th, 15th century strategy to train a 21st century child. So with the bonding, some of us will say, my dad wasn't there for me. My mom wasn't there. As long as I put food on the table, that doesn't work. What you are telling them is that you don't care about them. They don't have a voice. They are not relevant. So what we need to do is find ways, and our kids are different. We need to find ways to engage them individually, because they notice. They might not verbalize it, they might not say it, especially our boys. Our girls are more expressive, but they may not say it. But it is the onus is on us as a parent to ensure that we build that rapport. Say, this child is very introverted. Yes, introverted doesn't mean they won't talk to you. Introverted doesn't mean they won't speak to you. So we just need to find a way. They say, in my culture, they'll say, if Muhammad doesn't come to the mountain, if the mountain doesn't come to Muhammad, Muhammad goes to the mountain, or something like that. So if it means going to their room, just sit down there without doing anything. It's okay. With time, gradually it will build up. Initially, the child will think, oh, what's dad doing here? But with time, when they see that you're there, because it starts with quantity time eventually will sum up and equate to quality time. Gradually, you get on with it. So bonding is very important, so that this, what we call this dopamine, the happy hormone, will be released. Moving on from there, we're talking about the cognitive. So cognitive development, I'm going to use this particular concept, which is Piaget's stages of cognitive development. And Piaget's stages is in 4 stages. Here, I would need you to pay close attention, because I'm going to be asking questions. So this cognitive development, we're talking about the 4 stages. There is the first, which is from birth to 2 years. The second is from 2 to 7 years. The third, 7 to 12 years. And the last, 12 years and continues. So if we start with the Piaget's stages, the first one is the sensory motor stage. Very mouthful. And it's from 0 to 2 years. Here, we're talking about infants. Remember, we talked about the stages of development initially. So Piaget's, in terms of cognitive, as this. So the first stage is 0 to 2 years, and we need to pay attention. Infants explore the world through their senses, and they develop what we call object performance. Object performance, they develop it over the months. It doesn't start, because object performance is the realization that things exist independently of their own perception. So for example, if I'm here with my child, I move from here to another room, the child should know that, oh, I've just left for a while. That's what object performance means. However, with children, with infants from the age of 0, do you notice that, this happens, and I'm just using it as an example, is tragic. When a mother gives birth to a child, once they give birth, they are gone. The child doesn't have a clue. So the child doesn't have any emotions, not attached to that person, because that is the first stage. from 0 to 4 months, there is no awareness of object continuing to exist after they leave their sight. So you see a child at the beginning of this particular phase, you see that and remember that these are guidelines, they are guidance. It's not always the case. There are some exceptions as well. A child that lost a mother at birth doesn't know. So there's no, whoever comes to them is who they will be attached to. So the second stage, 4 to 8 months, they show interest in hidden objects. So for example, now they have progressed 4 to 8 months. If you pick a toy and you put it somewhere, they show interest in, oh, this is hidden. This is out of sight for now. And you know what happens when you take it off them? At this stage, they start crying. Initially, between 0 to 4 months, take it off them, they might not even cry. They don't have an awareness of it. But once they start having that awareness, so it's important that you know that this is what is happening. And the child is crying and you're saying, you like crying too much. You're a very troublesome child. Speak life. Don't speak. So knowing that this is what is happening can help us to support them as well. So 8 to 12 months, which is the third stage, understood them and begin to search for the hidden objects. So now, rather than crying, some kids will cry and start looking around. Remember, this is 8 to 12 months. They're crawling. Some are even trying to walk or walking. 8 to 12 months, they start going around looking for the object that is hidden. For 12 to 18 months, this is fully developed. So when this is fully developed, what happens is they know that they can find the object even after, it's hidden from them. So they look for it. Then at this stage, that's why I said communication is key. When you are doing this with your child, you need to hide things from them. You are developing their cognitive ability. And then you can push them to say, you can still look for it. When they start crying, you say, no, you can still look for it. It's somewhere. And with time, they get to know that, yes, it's always somewhere. I just need to be persistent and look for it. 18 to 24 months, the child understands that the object still exists, even when completely out of sight. And you see at this stage as well, you would see that they fall into a particular category of when something is out of sight, they sort of become anxious because they want that connection. They want that thing to be with them. They become anxious about it. So for example, let's look at this. What can you think about? Think about what's this game? Peekaboo. Peekaboo, hiding your face and then revealing it. In the early stage, the infant reacts with surprise, because the permanence has not yet been formed. But when the person reappears as if they are unaware of the existence of the other person. So operational permanence, this permanence is linked to separation anxiety as well. So when they come to the full realization that, oh, this person can go and then can come back, they don't want you to go to come back. They want you to stay with them. Initially, it's like they don't care because they don't understand it. But when they understand it, it becomes like sort of anxiety for them that, oh, where are you going? I need you here with me, because they are getting the understanding. But it is our own responsibility as adults or as the parent to calm them down, to speak to them. We think they are young, but the major and most important thing in parent-child relationship is communication. Communicate expectation, communicate your outcomes, communicate as much as possible. Just as we have God as our Father. God as our Father, what does He do? He comes to our level and communicates with us. The way He will communicate to somebody that has been in the Lord for has grown or matured in the Lord is not the same that I will communicate with somebody that has just given their life to, just known the Lord. So it is our responsibility, and God will help us. It says, if we ask for wisdom, He will give it unto us, to always ask, to always relate with our children, either young or old, and communicate. It's an intentional thing that we need to do. So I'm going to use this scenario, and I want you to either type or speak up. So my first scenario here, based on what, I'm just trying to test you if you at least understand what I've said, is considering a 10-year-old month baby. This child is called Dele, and is playing with his favorite toy, a very colorful, toy. And his mother briefly eyed the ball from him. What would you expect Dele to do? Remember, he's 10 years old. And what stage of the Piaget's object permanence is Dele? If we can respond to that. We said it's 10 years old. 10 years old. I said 10 years, 10 months. Oh my God, sorry. Anybody there? Let me share link. I can't hear anybody speak, or I can't see anything.
We are there.
To be, can anybody answer the question? What do you think? I mean, we're learning from each other. I don't think it's only me. We're learning from each other. So what do you think is happening here? Likely be crying. Okay. What stage do you think he is in what we have discussed? Is 10 years. I would expect him to throw tantrums, okay, to cry, to throw himself on the floor, or whatever it is. Anybody else? Third stage. Thank you. Okay, well done. Okay, so we're in the third stage. So what would happen? It would throw tantrums. It will cry because at the moment is a partial object permanence. It will be looking for it, crying, just trying to give up, throwing tantrums. But it is our responsibility as parents to engage, once they get to this stage, we continue to engage them in interactive play. So that's our responsibility, that will involve hide and seek. It could be mommy, hiding from daughter. It could be toys, hide toys here and there, and then continue to do that, so that what happens at the end is that they know that this is a temporary hiding, and once we begin to communicate to them, this is a play, this is a game, this is what we're trying to do, we're trying to have fun together. They get to understand that, and they probably will not be as throw more tantrums as those that don't engage in such with their kids. It also helps to recognize that when this object permanence, what it helps parents to understand the support that children feel when something is separated from them, that they need this support, that you need to give them. So when we offer that support to them, sometimes we just tell them, don't worry, you will get it, we'll keep going on. You comfort them, you are trying to build their confidence, you're trying to reassure them, and this builds their resilience skill as well. We move on to the second stage, which is stage 2 to 7. We call this pre-operational stage. And in pre-operational stage, what happens is that children engage in development, and they engage in play and develop egocentrism. What is egocentrism? It just means that a child sees everything from their own perspective. They have only one, they're just one way, if I can use that word. They see things one way. So a typical example would be, okay, you went to a party with your child and the child sat on a chair and left to pick burger. And when she came back, somebody else sat on that chair. What you will hear your child say, this is my chair, this is my toy, this is my this. It doesn't matter what you tell the child, but you have to share. So this is what we tell them. You have to share. Oh, no, everybody sits here. You can, but for the child at that particular stage, what they understand is egocentric. So it's just one way. So that is not the time to beat the child or talk down on the child or be frustrated at the child. That will not help. What will help at this stage is you trying to say the word lecture or empower the child to understand that we need to learn to share. This chair is for everybody. It is not for you alone. If you don't if you don't have the opportunity to sit on here, you can sit on another chair. Let's go and find another chair. So that's what we should be telling the child, rather than being frustrated and beating the child, because what happens to the child is lack of understanding, that others don't see what she's seeing. She's just seeing one thing. And it's always difficult at that stage of 2 to 7 for kids to put themselves, to empathize, to put themselves in other people's shoes. They just want what they want. And this also, let's use an example. And let's see what we come up with. So Mary also received a kitchen toy as a birthday gift. She's so excited about the gift, and then she went to her friend and she said, oh, I've got the best gift ever. Because she has this friend that is visiting, said, I've got the best gift ever, and dragging Toba everywhere. Oh, come and have a look at my gift. Come and play with me. Come and just overwhelmed Toba with the fact that she's got a gift. So in these particular scenarios, they're just simple scenarios. What was Mary's assumption? And what is your analysis of this situation? What was Mary's assumption? Okay. What was Mary's assumption? I can't see anything here. Because of time. What was Mary's assumption? I'm waiting on you. Are you with me or am I by myself? I can't hear anybody. You are with me. You are with me, okay. I need you to be with me in writing as well, please. Okay, thank you. I can hear you. Assumption is that she's got the best gift in the world. Nobody, I'm trying to read it. Because we're learning from each other, you see. She got the best gift in the world. Feeling like the luckiest child, lol, yes. On top of the world, nothing ever, at that time, she's on top of the world. She doesn't care about anybody else. she feels like the princess. Maybe to talk if it's, yeah, that's why I said, yeah, people can speak if they want to. She felt loved. Our assumption is that she's got the best gift in the world. Nobody as such. Yeah. Okay, so that's our assumption, and that's the stage that she is in our journey. Um, so she shares her enthusiasm with everybody, especially our friend, and she automatically feels that everybody should understand, especially our friend Toba should understand why she's feeling that way. She's not putting into consideration that Toba may not even like that kind of gift, or Toba is not even interested in toys. Whereas as an older person, this is what you think about. And she's so focused on her perspective, laser focused on her perspective, and does not consider other factors or interests of that Toba may have. And if we want to put that in context, we'll say, oh, she's being selfish. Sometimes we tell our children, why are you so selfish? But rather than saying that, what have you taught them? Have you taught them something different? Because at that stage of their life, that is what science says. They don't know, they are very egocentric. They can be selfish. So what do we do? What do we as parents do? So we need to go communication strategies. Oh, you've got to share your toy. You've got to think about other people at home. Give opportunity. Say, for example, when we're at home, I've got a toy. I've got a kitchen toy, and we just need to role play. Sometimes that's how what we do to help our children. We have to be intentional and come to their level. So I've got a kitchen toy, and I know what my daughter doesn't like. My daughter doesn't like devices. And for me, my daughter doesn't like devices. So if I now say, oh, Toby, please, can you come? I've got this device. Can we come and play? She doesn't play games. And I'll say, can you come and play this game? She won't be happy. And she will say no. And what I'm doing then is I would have to tell her, if that is what you want, it's fine. If you don't want to play games, it's fine. What am I trying to teach her? I'm trying to teach her that everybody's perspective is different. Then I can ask, what do you want? What do you want to do at this time? So even during our family time, there are 3, 4, 5 of us. Sorry. There are three, sorry, my people. There are 3, 4, 5 of us. So maybe during our family time, we rotate what we want to watch. So today I'm saying, oh, I want to watch Things Fall Apart. And then somebody will say, oh, mommy, I don't like Things Fall Apart. What do you like? We've got to try and find the balance, see each other's perspective. When we watch a film together or, something together, we ask everybody, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? We don't have to agree. We don't have to agree. We do not have to agree. So what do? We continue to say, this is what A said. Well, I don't totally agree with that because I think a typical example, just to make it more contextual. My dad's been around for a while, and we've been talking. Myself and my dad, we talk a lot. And we at one of the days we were talking about parenting as well. And I said, Dad, I'm sorry for the men that are here. I'm saying this respectfully. And I told my dad when we got to a point, I said, Dad, you know that I think your generation, not to be rude, did us a lot of disfavor. I said, why did you say that? And I had to explain that, okay, you're talking about women doing this. Women can wear so many hats at the same time. We're cooking, we're doing this, we're doing that. Some people can't do anything because during your own time, and I understand that that's where you had, that's what you know. But life has moved from there. So when you ask a typical older generation man, 70, 80 years old man, that about stuff that we were talking about, they will give the same advice. You are the woman of the house. So when you come home, if you want your husband to love you, you have to cook for them, you have to do this. Life has moved from there because men and women are working now. And so most of the time, it's about balancing and supporting each other. So I'm saying that to say I didn't agree with my dad on that because we were talking about a particular scenario. And that was my point to him that you did also. And then he brought his point forward as well. So I was able to talk to, even as an adult, I was able to talk in that way to my dad because that was how I was brought up. I was brought up in a house where every Saturday, my parents are working parents. Even then, every Saturday, my parents will bring us together. We have what we call a family forum. And during the family forum, my parents will ask us, what have we done to you that you didn't like this week? I mean, I think in that generation, not many parents do that. But and I would talk. It's always an opportunity for me to vent out what I like and what I don't like. Mostly what I don't like, what my mom did, what everybody did that I didn't like. And then not that they would not apologize, but they at least they gave us the opportunity. And then they'll now say that this is why we did this, this is why we did this, this is why we did this at the end of the day. So that has brought me this far that I can sit with my dad and say to his face that what you have done here, I think this is a disfavor. And if you think about it, how many children can actually sit with their dad face to face? Maybe with mom, men, if you are here, I apologize, but I have to say it. Maybe with mom we can still, but with dad, so I'm privileged to have that kind of relationship with. But that is what we are saying, that we need to build that relationship where our kids are able to talk. It starts from when they are young. We are blessed in this country, but then we also have to be able to guide them to positively communicate those and not be rude, to imbibe the values, those Christ-like values that we have taught them. But if we are not expressing it to them and we are not teaching them, there is no way that this will happen. So also under this particular scenario, we look at setting expectations and providing opportunity for them to overcome their cognitive limitations. That's what we are doing by giving them the opportunity to express themselves, by giving them the opportunity to hear other people and then bring everything together, putting everything as a jigsaw. We engage in activities that can promote perspective as well, and we talk about it. Why not play like snake and ladder? Snake and ladder is you get to somewhere, you come down again. You have to start again. You're winning, but then you come down again, you're losing. So that you are teaching them some perspective that you can't always have your way. You can't always win all the time. That is how life is. And encourage discussions about feelings. How do they feel as well? When they fail, it's part of life. It is about coming up again. Ladies and gentlemen, you may think that they are too young. They are not, because a lot of things that they know, we are not even aware that they know it until we start engaging with them. When we ask them questions and they trust us not to judge them, and sometimes it's not that we want to judge, it's just unconsciously our body language shows. But you know what? Sometimes you just need to, mommy, be calming down. Daddy, be calming down. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but we have to swallow it and be, look as if we are actually, oh, that's lovely, that's this. And then not at the same time, maybe some other time we tell them that this is not. So diverse perspective is very important because that will support them to develop very robust and sophisticated, cognitive ability over time. How are we doing with time? So the next stage, there are 4 stages. This is the 3rd stage, which is 7 to 11. Here, there is more of concrete operational stage 7 to 11, and it's about advancing in this stage. They advance in their logical thinking, and they advance so much in their ability to perform maybe mental operations like adding, taking away, and on concrete objects and events. So very solid objects like 3D shapes, objects that is physical and that they can see. So we're talking about their operational thinking, mental manipulation, which is more school kind of work. Conservation also is very important, is a key characteristic here, because they are capable of understanding changes in objects. So we're talking about, for example, if you have water, and you have a cup, a long cup and a short cup with the same capacity, they are capable to understand that although this is a long cup and this is a short cup, but both of them have the same capacity. Okay, no quantity is altered in the case. So in terms of the volume, they also able to classify objects at this age. So size, color, weight, moving things from ascending to descending order. If they are not doing it at this stage, then we have to be worried and we have to seek for help. They understand concepts like distance, direction, time, and then the decentering, which is more, and they are less egocentric as well. So they are seeing things from other people's perspective. They consider other people's view, and they try to solve problems. That's between 7 and, when they are 11 years old. So if we look at the scenario here, so we have a teacher here, Miss Vina, and she asked her student to sort out marbles in categories, colors, size, and shape. And after sorting, the teacher removes a few marbles from one category. And then she then asks if the total number of marbles have changed. What's your analysis of this? Because we can look at, let me leave it to you. What's your analysis of this? What would you say? Am I seeing an assumption is that she's got, no, let's go down. Even look at them in the face. This, yes, we couldn't look at them in the face. So is there any, I want us to think about it. What's our analysis? I can't see. Okay, if you want to unmute yourself to answer the question, that would be great as well. The teacher is trying to understand the student logical reasoning ability. Perfect, which is the same, which is what us as parents should do as well. Yes. Thank you, Adebayo. Just because of our time, rightly well said. It's also that the child is, we expect that the child will be able to sort these things out because classify them because they are in that stage. Also, considering the concept of conservation and the realization that removing marbles from one category does not change the total quantity if it's put in another category, or it changes the quantity if it's moved from one, if it's removed totally. So those concepts is what is being developed. And as parents, this is also a time for us to help our children to develop their cognitive ability using different activities, hands-on activities that will allow them to improve their operational thinking. During our family time, and it's important to dedicate time for yourself and your children to bond together. During family time, you can play Ludo, you can play chess. Chess is a very good one. You can play Monopoly, as well. Engage with children. Monopoly helps with, there are so many games actually that help with problem solving, counting, decision making, reinforcing the cognitive development, and moving from small to big, big to small, just manipulating figures as well. As much as we say that the devices are, to an extent, we just have to control it, because they're also good once it's controlled with our parental instinct. When do we have it? When don't we have it? What can we do on it? Group activities is always good, because it helps with sharing, with thinking, with speaking, it just helps your child to sort of decenter that ability of just one perspective. And I think that is something that if you have more than one child, that's something that you should look into doing more with them. And the last one on this cognitive, I think after this we should have a break. Is that okay, ma? After the formal operational stage, is that okay to have a break?
Yes, ma. Absolutely, ma.
How are we doing? Are we okay to have a break after this? After the last stage? I can't hear. Okay, so the last stage is formal operational stage, which is from 11 plus. And here, every child, remember we're talking about 11 to whatever age, they develop the capacity for abstract thinking, solving problems, and it's a very significant leap from what we have learned before, from the other three stages, our hypothetical reasoning as well. So with abstract, you go beyond just the physical things that you can see, hold, touch, and they begin to understand how to manipulate things. This is where questioning comes in. They understand how it feels to be, of course, by the time they turn into the teen years, when the hormones are running, they understand love, joy in their own way. They understand freedom. They understand justice. Oh, this is not fair. You hear, even from a younger age, you hear this is not fair. But when they get to this stage, science says that they understand it more. They can think about, hypothetical thinking about the options that they have, the alternatives, what are the outcomes. They are not always basing things on what it is right now, because they can think beyond right now. So they think more abstract and possibilities. Problem solving is a skill that everyone should have, because it's a skill for life as well. These are skills for life, to be honest, when you get to this stage. Metacognition is also a very important one for us, where we are able to think about our own thinking. You are able to review and reflect on your own thoughts. And I think because we're always running here and there, even as adults, sometimes think about it. How much time do we give to thinking about our own thinking? These are stuff that we should we should sow the seed in the lives of our children. They have to see us do it, because young people, our children generally, they follow what we don't verbalize. If you really want them to do something, of course, verbalizing it is important. Let's do it ourselves. How many times do you go to your room and kneel down to pray, and then your 5-year-old will just mimic the same thing, or they come to to your room and start singing the kind of song that you're singing, because it is not, you didn't tell them to do it, but what you don't verbalize, they tend to follow more. But it's automatic, it's by association. So with metacognitive, it's important that we support them. I believe so much in what I call I call it hypocrisy, for lack of a better word. And that's what I do. I want my child to pray. Most of the time we pray in our room, but because I want her to learn to pray, how many times will she come to my room to see me when I'm praying? Because I want her to learn how to do these things. I may be walking up and down. I may come to the living room where I know she will be. So it's intentional, so that she will mimic. I don't have to tell her, do pray. Of course, I tell her to pray. But because she sees me do it, she won't, when I tell her to pray, she won't say, oh, mommy is an hypocrite, or mommy does what, or tell me to do is do what I say and not do what I do. So with the metacognition, I remember years back, maybe 10 years or about, yeah, 10 years or 12 years ago, I was always telling my daughter, sometimes when she just bumps into my room, it's like, mommy, mommy, mommy. And I'll just tell her to pause, because that was my thinking time, maybe 10 minutes. Usually I have 10 minutes of thinking time a day then. And then once I pause, because I'll pause to respond to her, I'll say, I'm having my thinking time. Sorry, what do you want? Is it something that is urgent or you can come back for? And she said, oh, I just need this. I said, okay. And then if it's something that we have to discuss, sometimes if, I pause, we do it, and I go back. But I express what I am doing to her so that she knows that it's important. And when I ask her to do it, she doesn't feel like you don't do it anyway. You just tell me. Nowadays, that a lot of things are on our mobile phones, and then we tell them to put away their mobile phones. What if sometimes just say, oh, I'm doing this, I'm going to switch my mobile phone off because I am reading. So she knows that when mommy is reading, when mommy is at work or working from home or doing her email, mommy always switch off her mobile phone. She doesn't. Sometimes my daughter will tell me, mom, your phone is ringing. Your phone is. I said, no, I'm not going to. Later in the day, I have a time when I will, review everything and look at my WhatsApp and that. What am I doing? I'm trying to teach her how to navigate through life without being tossed and fro every time. Just one notification, you've picked it. Another thing that I do, because we're talking about metacognitive, is um, when I'm on the train or I'm on the bus, of course, there is the likelihood that I want to watch. I want to just check my Facebook, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. I'm not a fan of all this, but sometimes I do. So I realized that at some point in my life, from home to work, which was about 20 minutes there, I'm on Facebook doing what? Yeah, I learned things on Facebook, but at some point I just told myself, Oluwashim, you are becoming something else. So you need to find a way to do this thing. So what I did was, from when I get on the bus, I give myself that treat of looking at my Facebook. I get to a particular marked place. I have a marked point where once I get there, it's either I read my Bible or I read a book. Similarly, when I'm coming back. So if I read my Bible going, when I'm coming back, I read a note textbook or a book to develop myself. So things like this, sometimes when myself and my daughter we are on the train or we are on the bus, we're on the bus together, I just tell her, oh, this is my I have to stop this right now. And sometimes I tell her to be my accountability partner, that you know what, when I get here, I have to stop because I need to do something for my life. Why am I saying that? Because what they see us do, I don't need to tell her some of these things. They just imbibe it because that is what they see us do. And there's so many other things here, like logical deduction. Under this logical deduction, there is moral reasoning. Then what you here is more of engaging in moral decisions based on principles. And our principle stems from what we believe, our identity, which is our core value as well, than what is brought from external. What is brought to us it should be from inside out, and some scientific reasoning as well. So we're going to end up on this note of Alex. Alex also is a 15-year-old who he has a keen interest in science, and particular astronomy. His parents noticed his passion and were willing to support him. So one day, Alex further expresses his curiosity about the vastness of space. So this is what he wants, he likes. How could they be a support to him? And analyze what will happen to him as well. Can we answer this question? Discipline and consistency from our values. I cannot see any answer. Okay, I think I can see on. Show interest in is what he likes. Find a system to help him develop and know more. Don't discourage him. Okay. Yes, I like that, sir. Yeah. Just show interest in what he likes, and then don't discourage him. Does someone want to talk?
Well,
Does someone want to talk? Okay. So yes, I like that. Show interest in what he wants to do, and don't discourage him. It's a journey, and it's when we support them and they understand that we support them, that even if that's not their where they will end up, they will always listen to us because they know that it's not always no, no, no. Sometimes we need to be predictable with our core values. And when it comes to something that is not core, we can be, we can be flexible, we can be unpredictable. Because when we are always saying no, 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 then we are always predictable. My mom would say no, I know. So there's no point going. My dad will say no. So if you ask them, they won't tell you what exactly is in their mind. And that's why I tell my daughter, sometimes when I ask that question, I say, don't tell me what I want to hear, because that's the human in me. That's human nature. There's something I want to hear, but tell me what you feel. Okay. And then it's up to me to say, okay, I'll go by what you feel, or I don't. Sometimes my daughter will say, oh, mom, if I ask her, is this dress good on me? Say, oh no, this dress is not good. And most time, I know I'm a good dresser, so most times she'll say yes. But it's my wig. If I put on a wig, she'll say, oh, mommy, no, no. And I'm like, I love it. It's me. Thank you for your opinion. I love it. And I go out with it. Other times when she says no, I'll say, okay, I'm not going to use it. So give them that opportunity as well, so that we are not predictable all the time. Mommy will always say no, I'm not going, or daddy will always say no, I'm not going. So in this case, how can we support? We can facilitate the exploration by providing him with, maybe textbook, or enroll him on astronomy club, or engage him, or even take him to the museum, ask him some question why he wants to do this, challenge his ideas. Perhaps maybe there's a reason or a reason not. I remember when I was growing up, I'll round up with this. For when I was growing up, I wanted to become a doctor. And I wanted to become a doctor, but I was always scared of blood. I wasn't interested in science as such, but I wanted to become a doctor. And my parent kept asking me, why do you want to? I said, that's what I want to become. I said, why? So they couldn't get through to me. But my dad, in his heart of heart, thought, I'm more tactile, I'm more hands-on than, that that's maybe something else. So what they did was, then my parents had a friend that was the what do they call them in Nigeria? The head of the university, is it the dean or the principal, sort of, the vice VC, who was the VC then. And then my dad invites the VC home and said, oh, my daughter wants to become a doctor, but I want you to speak to about it and explore the opportunity. And when this woman came, she stayed over at ours that night. So we had that discussion. I said, why do she kept probing and probing? And eventually I realized that it wasn't that I wanted to become a medical doctor. I just love that doctorate, that title, doctor. And when we got to that point, that I voiced that out, that I want to become a doctor because I want that title, doctor. She told me, she said, oh, there are so many ways to get that. You don't have to be a medical doctor to bear that doctor. And that was the light bulb. That was what turned. I said, okay. Oh no, I'm not going to become a medical doctor again. And what did I do eventually? I became an engineer, because I love doing things with my hands. Well, if my parents did not explore that, if they discouraged me in the first place, maybe I would have done the medical. But they were just, putting me in the right direction. They were tailoring me, guiding me, such that at the end of the day, they found a way to bring what actually is inside of me out. So in this case, they can get Alex a mentor to deepen his understanding. And what this does is it helps to catalyze the skill that he already, the analytical skill that he already have. And the good thing is about building the confidence of the child, because they will contribute to his confidence. My parents believe in me. They believe I can achieve. The child will not say, my parent, well, they can verbalize that, oh, my parent didn't want me to be a doctor, or they don't want me to be an astronaut. But the interpretation of that to them, to children, is that my parents don't believe in me. My parents don't hear my voice. They don't understand me. That's the interpretation of what they are saying. So it's important that we dig deep, ask questions. Don't be angry, don't be frustrated. Because, one with us is battalion, one with us is more than those that are in the world. Let's ask for help. Let's continue to put them in the right direction. Keep probing, and because we are the nurturer, we are the one that sow the seed and pour water in it. In the long term, what you are doing extends beyond just being a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. You want them to be all-round success, holistic education. And at the end of the day, they become successful in life. So parents understand the concept that when we help develop their intellectual capacity and passion for life, we are helping them with their lifelong learning. I am going to stop here. I am going to stop here. Don't discourage them. Vice Chancellor, thank you. Yeah, Vice Chancellor. I'm going to stop here if that is okay, ma.
Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you. We really appreciate those the impact, the information you've impacted into us. Are we taking 10 minutes break, Ma, and then we're coming back to is that true, Ma?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
please.
okay. Um, Thank you, everyone. We're just going to take 10 minutes tea break. Stretch your leg, get a cup of tea or water or something, and we'll be back
Thank you.
um
Thank you very much, ma.
4:30, 4:42, 4:42. Let's be back on place. We've got some questions already on Slido, about 7 questions, and we can't wait to um, see you answer those questions. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you, everyone. 10 minutes. We're back 4:42, please. Thank you. And those of our people that are in Nigeria, I think you will be is that 5:42? Yeah, 5:42 for people in Nigeria, whatever you are connecting from. I think someone is from America. I don't know, but we'll be back in 10 minutes. Thank you, everyone. God bless you.
Hello.
There's a class.
We are all welcome back. We'll be starting in 1 minute. Just in 1 minute. Thank you. Please invite more parents. Send them the link so they can join. We are going deeper and deeper in this parenting workshop. Hallelujah. Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you, Ma. Over to you, Ma.
Okay, welcome back. I hope we had a nice break. We need to share as well. Share. So we looked at, we're talking about the child development for people that has just joined, child development and psychology. This is not something that we pay attention to, like I said at the beginning, but what we know helps us to make informed decision. And we looked at it, a typical example of if you knew what you knew now, will you give your 10-year-old a phone? And we all agreed, no. I mean, but I want to take the sample as an anonymous agreement of a no for everyone. So we looked at the child development. We're talking about the spiritual growth, which we are very into. And at some point, we're going to talk about that as well in the series. We're looking at the cognitive ability, which we have just talked about extensively. Now we're going to look at their emotional development, and we're also going to look at their social development, because all encompassing who they are, encompassing the stages, all of this encompasses the stages. So we're looking at and the emotional development. This is a very critical part of children's growing up. Even for adults, I want you to think about it even for yourself. If you're not emotionally stable, then there is problem. If you're not emotionally stable, then so many things go amiss. If you're not emotionally stable, then your relationship with others gets steered all the time in the wrong direction. So it is important, and I want us to please pay close attention, because this is something that can make or mar a child, that can make or mar our relationship with our children as well. So emotional development is a gradual and ongoing process. It never stops. through which individual we acquire understanding and manage our emotions, and as well as recognizing and responding to the emotions of others. So it is not about us alone. We're talking about a two-way thing now. And this is where empathy comes in. So we're talking about you, your emotions, managing your emotions, and also responding to other people's emotions. Because the reality is that nobody is in isolation. There is no one person in this world that can live by themselves. So when we talk about emotions, we need to be also emotionally intelligent, such that we manage our own emotions. And managing our emotions could range from not finding a way to express our frustration, our happiness, our sadness, our mood generally, and not projecting our mood per time on other people. Okay? God created emotions. God gave us this emotion. He gave us for a reason, not for a bad reason. And I dare to say to you that there's nothing wrong in being sad. There's nothing wrong in being down. There's nothing wrong, even I dare to say, there's nothing wrong being depressed. It's about understanding the coping mechanism and coming out of it. Because we always want to put everything under in Jesus' name. In Jesus' name, this will not happen to me. In Jesus' name, that will not happen to me. We need to come off that. There is a place for God. There is a very strong place for God. And equally, there is a place for, reality. What this is what is happening. What do I need to do about it while in the place of prayer? So we're going to look at this because it's a vital, very important part of our development, and it influences our relationships. If you are in isolation, then there's a problem. If you don't have friends, you don't have family, you don't relate with family, you don't relate with friends, you're just, I'm just doing my own thing. No, you don't have church family, you don't have social family, different sort of different groups that we mingle with, different cycles, then circle, then there is a problem. So this emotion also help our mental well-being. And we cannot disconnect our mental well-being, our emotions, from our daily activities and how we navigate through life. So this is a very vital development that we are talking about. And it starts from childhood. Because a child cries, they laugh, they get agitated, they get anxious. So we need to be able to manage our own emotions so that we can teach our children from childhood how to manage their emotions. Okay. So when we talk about this as well, there are three key components of emotional development. The first one is attachment, which is we talk about emotional bonding between child and parent. It's a long life or lifelong thing. I'm just my dad came from Nigeria recently. He spent like 8 weeks and he's going back. I'm already feeling somehow because I'm so attached to him. And even when he's in Nigeria, if I don't want to talk to my dad, if I don't have time, I won't call my dad because we can stay on the phone for 3 hours or even more. So him leaving, I'm already devastated, but it is what it is. So that's the kind of bond. And that's what every parent look forward to. At the beginning of the parent-child relationship, if I ask you, you have a picture in mind, oh, they will love me, we'll do this together, we'll have fun together. What's changed? That is what we need to ask ourselves. What changed? And remember, we cannot control them. We can control us and what we do and what we project on them. And the only way, if I want to flip the coin as well, I can say to an extent, if it permits me, to say that we can control them by what we do. Because what we do, tell them if we love them or not. What we do, tell them. Their interpretation may be different. However, what we do, if they are responding to us in a particular way, then we need to check ourselves. Okay? Because what this saying is coming to me in Yoruba, and I'm trying to interpret it in English. Let me just put it this way: monkey see, monkey do. Okay? So, and then if we want to target something, we have a target in mind. They don't have an idea. We have an aim. So we want to go for that aim. We want to go for that target, irrespective of all the distractions that comes our way. Because definitely different things will be thrown our way. Different things thrown our way. But we know what we want. And that is what we need to go for. And that's why it's important. I think in series 2 or series 3, we're going to talk about this more in details. What is the purpose? The purpose of your child. Because if you have that at the back of your mind, irrespective of the tantrums, irrespective of how unlovable they are, you have an aim. And for you to achieve that aim, you have some things laid out. And with God on your side, you will achieve it. So emotional bond between child and parent is very important because it lays a very good foundation for the child's sense of, security and, future relationships as well. A typical example that is common these days is divorce. And I'm not taking it lightly, and I'm not trying to say this somebody is wrong or it just happens. Nobody starts in marriage with divorce in mind. But things happen, life happen, and it doesn't happen. And you will see that a lot of these kids, if it's the father that they love, they will want to say, oh, my dad is right, and this is my mom that is not right. And the other way around to say, my mom is right, is my dad that is not right in this. So it's important that we lay the right foundation. Our children want security. They want to develop. The only way they can develop a good, healthy, robust future relationship is by what they see. Human beings are people of visibility, if I can say that. It's what we see. It's what we see that will attract us. You see, our young people saying now, oh, a lot of young people, if you speak to them, say, oh, I just want to be by myself. I don't want to marry, because what they see now is a lot of, many homes breaking up. May God help us, in Jesus' name. So also, when we talk about our attachment, we need secure attachment, which contributes to, emotional well-being. I want to look back and say, even as I am now, if anything is happening to me, the first person I will call my husband. I call my husband, this is happening to me. Please pray along with me. I call my daughter. I'll send a text to my daughter. Please, this is happening. Pray for me. Sometimes at work, I'm about to, burst because something silly is happening or something bad and, frustrating. I will just text my daughter. Better be praying for me now. And she will send a text message back. It's just being vulnerable to say, I am not perfect. That is part of building that attachment. My mom is very honest. If I need an honest opinion, I can go to my mom. If I need an honest opinion, and that is what I'm teaching, that if you need an honest opinion, if your friend needs an honest opinion, they can come to you. So we build this attachment in different ways. Spending time. What is important to you, you spend time with. What is important to you, it doesn't matter how busy you are. And we understand that we've got to fend, things are not easy, but what we prioritize what is important to us. So if we don't prioritize having times with these kids, what you are telling them, the interpretation to them is, I am not important. I am a nobody. So attachment comes in different ways and form, spending time. This is what I used to do. We used to do in our family because I'm also a busy person. My husband is busy 9 to 5, then church activity, then counseling, and so many other things that I do. So what we do is we schedule it we block it in our diary. Wednesday at some point weekend wasn't feasible for us. So what we did was we blocked during the week, which of this day during the week are we all free? My daughter goes for lessons, she's an athlete, she goes 3 times a week. We have Bible study, my husband leads group of people. There's so many things happening, but we realized that there is a window on Wednesday. So what we did was to block it out. This is our family time. This is our fun time. This is when we relate with each other. This is when we express ourselves. This is when we can be vulnerable to each other. No phones, nothing. Let's just be silly. And no slapping, no no slapping, of course, within boundaries. Daddy is there, mommy is there. Nobody will be saying, daddy is this. No, 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 no. We are at this time, we just want to have fun. Anything that will not make us have fun at that time, get rid of it. And I remember there was a time when, I can't remember, I think it was during COVID or pre-COVID, sometimes ago. And like my normal self, I just asked my daughter, I said, this year you've been on this trip to America. Then I think we went to Nigeria. Then you came back again. You went on a trip with your, all this PG, whatever, for 2 weeks or something. And I said, you've really enjoyed. So what is the highlight of your year? You'll be surprised what she told me. And she said, there was this particular day during our family time that we're all rolling on the floor. I kid you not. That was the highlight of our year. That we were rolling during our family time. We were rolling on the floor. And I've spent money on this. I've spent on it. This is what we are talking about. What is important to you may not be what is important to them. So what then is important is asking them, how do you want me to support you? How do you want me to help you? What will make life easier for you? This you are asking them, and whatever response they give you, you've got to talk about it. I understand that sometimes they can be eye-reaching, they can be over our budget. And sometimes for me, what I do is give me the options. And I'm very honest with my kids, biological, non-biological, give me options. So for example, it's Christmas time. We don't believe in, giving gifts during Christmas. We give gifts anytime we want to give gifts. But if there's a particular thing that you want, at a particular time, give me ample notice, and then I will see if I can. If I cannot, then we will have to wait till a typical example was this. My daughter is in university and she's studying architecture, second year in university, and the laptop we bought for her is architecture kind of laptop. And she said, oh, Dad, I need an iPad because this laptop doesn't work like an iPad, especially when I'm doing my modeling and da da da. Okay. Dad said, go and tell your mom. Said, okay. Told me. I said, okay, how much is it? Da, da, da. I said, well, you are coming on. That was in October. I said, December, there will be sales. Will it be too late to get it? She said, it's not too late. I use my friend's own at the moment. Can you manage? Yes, I can manage. Okay. Promise we'll get it at that time because we'll have a deal. My budget, and I told her my budget is 500. You've given me ample notice. That's what our budget. When it was December, we She got something 500 and something, and I'm like, 500 budget? I said, okay, I'll keep looking. It can come down. But by the time she was meant to tell me again, she forgot to tell me. Oh. And then when it was January, it skyrocketed to like 700. And she came to me, I said, we have a budget, but let's see what happens. What can we do? Have a look at it. Going back and forth, not that it's your fault. No. Okay, we have a budget. We are all in it together. This is for your own benefit, but this is our budget within our means. But we are going to get it before you go to school. At the end of the day, we got around 500 and maybe 600. I said, well, at the moment I have 500 and I can have 50 pounds. She said, okay, I will remove this particular pen and I will get it for myself. And that was how we resolved this. Rather than, I don't have the money. Is it? No. Let's, especially when they're getting older, there is a time that they solely depend on us. That is when they are infants. They move on to a stage where we need to train them. We give them the direction. We are directing them. The next stage is direction. After that, we are training them. It's like they're standing on your shoulders. You're telling them this is what you do, this is what, and then the adolescent age is about coaching them, giving them the options. Well, okay, if this doesn't, not that this is it and it is. This is what my dad did for me and it worked and that's it. We cannot use a 18th century method to teach a 21st century child. Otherwise, you lose them. So all of these things are important. This is how we build that confidence. This is how we build that attachment. Your child will say, oh, I trust my mom. If she says no, there must be a reason. If she says no, there must be a reason. Because she loves me, she will say yes. So this attachment is about what young people understand. When you say love, it's time. Will they verbalize it? No. Especially the boys. They may not verbalize it. Not being stereotypical, but majority of the boys, some will, but majority of them will not verbalize, especially if daddy doesn't verbalize things. Okay? Some do when daddy does. So I'm saying this to say that attachment is very important. We had their first role model. We should be their first cheerleader. We should be their first fan. Whatever is happening, don't worry. It doesn't matter. Just let me know and we will sort it out. Just let me know and we will sort it out. That's for attachment. Emotional regulation. This is still part of it. Is the ability to manage your emotions effectively. You are telling me that your child shouts all the time. If your child is shouting, you've got to reflect. Where does she get it from? If you're telling that your child lies, where does he get it from? We need to reflect first. And I'm not saying they get everything from us. They have peers outside that influence them, but we should be their primary influencer. And that is what we call intentional parenting. Prayerfully, strategically, seeking God per time. There was a time that my daughter was lying. And I was like, hey, where did she get this from? Hey, I lie small. Oh my God. I said, how can she boldly tell me this? And I was praying to God, God, help. And I'll speak to my husband. Please, my husband is a very gentle, very lovely man. By the way, he's helping me here. Please applaud him for me. I will say, my husband, at some stage, the Holy Spirit just said, you know what? Every midnight, go to her bed, lay your hands on her, and pray for her. And I told my husband that every midnight, me, I like my sleep. That's the way that's my me time. I had to tell my husband, please wake me up at this time. This is what God said I should be doing. I did it for 7 days. And it's now history. It's now history. When she tells me something, I would tell her, I trust you, tell me the right thing. Not that you are always lying. I trust you, tell me the right thing. What are we saying? We're building that emotional connection. We are telling them sometimes what I want to do is not what I'm going to do. Because sometimes what I want to do is to tell you, are you stupid? Are you mad talking to me like that or doing that? But I won't say that because I need to regulate my emotions. And sometimes I'll just say, just walk away, just leave my presence. And then I ask Holy Spirit, help me. This is not the right time to talk. I can't vent my frustration because yes, we face frustration at work, we face stress as well. At work, do you vent out like that? No. So if you can manage it at work, you should be able to manage it at home. And the first thing is that these kids are first human beings before they are your child. So they have everything that you have. They have emotions. They have their own ego or pride or whatever we call it. So treat them as human. Treat them with respect. That is what they want. And when we do this, you will see that they're telling, you don't need to tell them, I love you before they know, but we need to verbalize it though. But they know in their heart of heart that my mom will not, if somebody goes out and say, oh, my mom said this about you, say, my mom can't say that. There was a time in my daughter's school, they sent an email that my daughter used the F word. I fought with them like anything. I asked my daughter, I said, I know you won't say that, but if you had said it, maybe by mistake, let me know. She said, I didn't say it. It wasn't me. I went to the school and I fought with them. I said, my daughter will never use this word. She will never. I know her. So we need to be able to vouch for them as well. And it's all lengths on the upbringing and allowing them to be transparent, allowing them to make mistakes, allowing them to, make mistakes. When they make mistakes, then we can correct them. This is not how to do this. But it starts with us. How do you show your frustration? How do you manage stress? How do you manage other emotional challenges? When I see your child to a great extent, I see you. And this is also, this emotional regulation is also crucial for our mental health and interpersonal relationship. No wonder some people don't have friends because every friend is conflict, conflict, conflict. Lastly, on this emotional, we're looking at the empathy. Empathy is a big one. Ability to empathize with others, to put yourself in people's shoes, to recognize and respond to the feelings of others with empathy, to say, you know what, I hear you. I hear you. When your child tells you something, you don't say, it's not like that, so in Jesus' name. Everything, we just sweep it under the umbrella of in Jesus' name. What do you know about the child? If a child comes to tell you something, say, I'm sorry to hear that. Not that, why did you do that too? Even when they are in the wrong, nobody will not appreciate being pampered. Nobody will not appreciate just calming them down first, even if they have done the wrong thing. I'll give you an example here. A friend of mine, her daughter is in medical school, and she just called me 2 weeks ago. She couldn't speak to her mom about it because they were about to rusticate her because she's not been attending class. My head was like, oh my God, what is this? What will I do? I didn't say anything. I just said, tell me the truth so that I can get to your lecturer. She gave me the breakdown. I said, I need you to give me the truth. This is because this is the situation you're in, and the consequence is if my word is different from your word, then we are going nowhere. What they have decided is what will happen. So she told me some things I felt she wasn't telling me. I said, go and think about it and come back and write it down for me. Send the text to me because I don't want your mom to know about this. Once we sort it out and you are in a good place, then I will tell your mom. And then she wrote the thing that obviously she's been missing class. She's been giving her friends the swipe to swipe class and not doing what she's meant to do. At the end of the day, when she gave it to me, I had to send it I had to sort it out. I did sort it out. She had to face the panel and all of that. At the end of the day, up till now, well, we are meant to get the result today of the outcome. Either she will be, but I trust because I spoke to the doctor myself, the person in charge myself, and I trust that it will be a positive outcome. But up till this is been happening for 3 weeks. For once, I have never for once reprimanded her because this is not the state to reprimand her. This is the state to empathize with her, say, everything will be all right. Don't worry. Once the outcome is out, then we will have a seat and then we will talk about how dare you do that. So we've got to empathize. We know when to embrace and when to reprimand. It can't just be knocking. I can't do anything right. It doesn't foster for positive relationship. For her to come to me, that means she knows that, oh, auntie can help me sort this out. Okay? So for us to build that positive social interaction, cooperative, and establish positive relationship, we need to have empathy. The last example I want to give on empathy is, the US soldiers. The US soldiers, what has happened in the past is that, they go to war and they're not able to, kill people. Why? Because normally what they use is they use like models, they use like toys. So when they're doing their practice, they shoot the toys, there's no connection, there's no feeling. And when they get to war, they see individuals, this is serious matter. To shoot is a problem. But then they have to stop it. Because human to human, there is something there. They had to stop it. When they realize after research, they realize that this is what is happening to the soldiers. They had to stop it, although they will still use models, but they now wear, they make it more like these models are individuals. They have blood running through them. And that was how they had a breakthrough in that respect. For lack of a better word, they had a breakthrough in that respect. But what am I trying to say? That empathy is key. We need to empathize with them. Put yourselves in their shoes. When we were once teenagers as well, and we knew what we did. How many of us were good, quote and unquote, good kids? We do things that our parents tell us. I can tell about myself. I do things that my parents didn't want me to do. So we need to empathize with them that this is the time the hormone is running, especially our our older ones. The hormone is running. They're trying to discover themselves. Peer pressure is so huge. So we've got to be by their side. I will hold your hand. I tell my kids, whatever happens out there, the world is cold. The world is so cold out there. Your child should be able to run into your hands, irrespective of what happens. My mom will scold me, but she will love me as well. If there's not that balance, if you ask my daughter will say, there was a time I said, just rate me. She said, Mommy, you are sweet and sour. I'm like, oh, sweet and sour. Why now? Said, oh, Mommy, let's leave it as that. You are sweet and sour. I'm happy to be sweet and sour. Because when I need to reprimand at the right time, the Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3, there is time and season for everything. And we have the added advantage for us is we have the Holy Spirit. Sometimes we want to talk and the Holy Spirit say, shush. And inside you are crying, you are like wailing. But if the Holy Spirit says shush, he knows better, shush. And then do what the Holy Spirit tells us to do. I'm mindful of time, and I'm just going to run through this scenario and give us some possible answers as well, because I'm really mindful of time. Okay, so Lola is a 6-year-old who has recently moved to a new school. Actually, okay. Lola is a 6-year-old who has recently moved to a new school. And when it's time to go to school, our parents notice clinginess and tearfulness. What comes here? What could be wrong? There are issues of attachment because, she's a young girl, she's 6-year-old, attached to her parents, doesn't want to separate from her parents. You can explore, a bit of anxiety and so forth. But as parents, we should provide reassurance that don't worry, you'll be fine. In the first place, you should know your child such that at that age, you should have, if a child is going to a new school, you should have taken the child to preparation. Take the child, oh, this school, you're going to meet, your teachers will be nice, you make new friends, you will have games here, just to encourage them, to alleviate that fear and anxiety. Even as adults, you want to start a new job, new things are happening. Not that, is this the first time you are going to school? Why are you like that? Why are you crying? Crying for what? When did that start? No, they need reassurance. Just as we need reassurance as well, they need the comfort. Don't worry, everything will be okay. It could be difficult in transitioning to school. Sometimes suggest that they need enhanced emotional regulation skills that they need to develop. So you need to help them with coping mechanisms. What sort of coping? There's so many coping mechanisms. Sometimes it's just for us to go online and check. So breathe in, out. When you're not there, the child will do it. Even when you yourself, you are under stress and you do in, out. When they're going through theirs, they will do the same thing. Tell her to express her feelings. How are you feeling this morning? It's going to be a good day. Don't worry. Let her arrive at school early. Like if they open at 8:45, arrive at 8:30, so that she will calm her down. You speak life into her. It's going to be good. You make good friends. You excel. Before you leave her. So these are some. Empathize, validate her feeling that I understand what you are feeling and our perspective. And that, oh, I know that you're a bit anxious, but don't worry, everything will be okay. Because what we tell them is like a seed and it keeps rolling in there. If you're telling your child, why are you doing that? Even their inner child, that is the same thing the inner child will be repeating. Why are you doing that to yourself? You are stupid. You are this. So what we tell them is what they express to themselves when they are by themselves. So saying, oh, it's going to be okay. Don't worry, you will be fine. You will settle well. Is there anything you want me to do? What do you want from mommy? What do you want from daddy? This gives some sort of emotional security. So when something happens, they say, oh, my mommy said it's going to be okay. My daddy said it's going to be okay. So I believe it's going to be okay. That's security. That's emotional security. And that's what our kids need. Not that, you are very useless. It's only your sister that is useful in this house. And things like that. Because that will continue to play in their head. So when a teacher says, oh, you don't know how to do it, that's what will be playing. Or if you're telling them, let no one tell you otherwise. What I am telling you is that you are a success. Even when they are not doing well, this is not you. We are going to change this narrative. That is what will be playing in their head. Because you are not lying. This is not you. We are changing the narrative. You're not there yet. But what can we do to get there? We're not lying. That's the reality. So there is also open communication. We have to make the effort. And I'm saying this, I know moms, a lot of mothers do this, and I kudos. But dad, please get engaged, get involved in your child education. When it's time for parent evening, when it's time for different things, please. When it's time for sport activities, make time to go, please. Because what you're saying is that you value them. Open communication between teacher, parents, and the child will help. This is called, what we call collaborative approach. Everyone doing their own to make sure that the child has a solid emotional balance. Routine and predictability, I've talked about that. Social interaction, encourage your child to have friends, circle of friends outside. It starts with the family first, cousins, siblings, interaction, church interaction, school interaction. Every of this interaction matters, but we are the one that can help them to be able to live up to the right standard. So what's the significance of emotional development? It helps healthy relationship, establishing meaningful connection. We've talked about that. It helps navigate through conflict as well. Imagine if someone is just by themselves and playing their games all the time. How did they navigate through conflict resolution? How did they resolve conflict with friends? It starts from the home. I am of and this is my opinion. When I first got married, and myself and my husband, we fight or we argue, my husband would say, I've never seen this happen with my parents before. I say, I've never seen it happen with my parents as well. But we need to, this is just how my brain is wired, that we need to show this child that we fight, but we resolve it. I am not of the opinion, and I'm not saying you should believe that. That is just me, and that's how I raised my child. That's okay. They see us fight, and they see us resolve it. That is a skill on its own. A lot of people don't have this skill. They fight, and the daddy cannot say sorry to mommy. Mommy cannot say sorry to daddy because they've never seen it played out. They've never, even some of us never seen our parents fight before or argue. Not fight, but argue. I know sometimes my daughter will come say, Mommy, you are fighting with that. I said, no, we are not fighting. We are arguing. And you see that we've resolved it. So that is healthy. But when you start talking to each other negatively, and that's not healthy. However, the healthy version, they should see it. That is me. I'm not saying you should think that. I'm just expressing that to you. So the mental well-being as well is very important, because the emotional well-being is really connected to our mental well-being. So the ability to understand and manage emotions, like we said, coping with stress, frustration. How do you manage this? Always remember, if I'm at work and I'm stressed, what do I do? Transfer that home. Not home, don't go outbursting. Don't outburst of rage, outburst of every frustration. No. Remember that these kids are looking at you. Children who can regulate their emotions also form, positive attachments and are better equipped for learning at school. Problem solving, navigating through their education is very important. And with life satisfaction, emotional development contribute to life satisfaction and fulfillment. We know that our faith has a major part to play, but we can rule our emotions out as well. And this happens when you understand your emotions, you express your emotion authentically, and you help support each other, support your relationship. And with this, you are likely to experience a sense of, sort of purpose and contentment. So with emotional intelligence, with emotional development, the conclusion is that it's multifaceted. It's a process that has so many layers and layers of it, and it influences different aspects of our lives. So as parents, it's very important to understand this and help our children to navigate through life, support them in ensuring that they are emotionally stable so that they see the world from different, whatever the world throws at them, they are still standing strong. I think that because of time, I would, there's still so much that we can talk about, but I think how about mothers who cry when their kids are going to school for the first time, the emotionally stable, please. Yeah, well, I think I want to stop here so that we can have question and answer. We've talked about cognitive and we have talked about emotional. We've not been able to talk about social, and I'm mindful of time. I want us to take questions, and if there is time, we can go on. If not, I will put a stop on it here at it. Over to you, Ma.
Thank you so much, Ma. God bless you, Ma. We really, really appreciate the powerful teaching. We've got some questions on Slido. I'm just going to, I think I'll just be reading one by one so you can answer, Ma. There is a question. The first question says, a teenager saying she's depressed. She doesn't pay bills. How?
Teenagers, we need to appreciate that stage of teenagehood. Teenagehood is a time that they are contending with a lot, like we've said already. They are trying to fix who they are, discover their identity. They are trying to, the hormone is running haywire, and that's why as prayerful women and men, we need to pray. That is what science says, and it is true. But what prayer can do is that it helps us to maintain a balance, balancing their hormones. That is what our God that can do, and that's an added advantage. I don't know why you think they're not paying bills, because that's your responsibility. Their own bill is what is going on inside of them. Okay? And we cannot underrate that. As you feel as a responsible adult, they feel as a teenager. That is the phase they have, and we've got to support them. You see, that 7 years of teenagehood is so complex. That is when there is a change, the puberty, the physical, and that is also when you then see that they want to be isolated, they don't want to talk to you, they want their time to themselves, they prefer to speak to their peers than speaking to you. There's so many things going on at the same time. Have you ever experienced a situation whereby you want to talk, but the rate at which things are going on in your head, the thinking going on is faster than what you're trying to say? That's how I can describe this stage of their life. So what we want to help them to do is not to add to it. What we want to, and I understand the fact that they can be so unlovable at this stage. But what we need to remember, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So this seems unlovable, but we need to extend that hand of love towards them. I always say that, as a parent, fatherhood, motherhood is the only unique thing, because you can't replace your father, you can't replace your mother. Yes, you can have guidance, you can have friends, you can have this, but you can't replace them. So this is the feeling, this is what she's feeling, and we cannot ignore it. What you can do is get closer to her through some of the strategies that we've talked about. We will look into it in more details when we talk about teenagehood. Get closer to her, ask her questions. Why is she feeling this way? Most importantly, ask her, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? What can I do to make you feel better? Okay. Sometimes during some of these things, during their period, they get so depressed. That's the word they use. but you want to understand what that depression means. Depression is a very big word, heavy word, but what does it mean? Somebody may be feeling down today and say, I'm depressed. Is it the normal, this medical depression, or depression is that I'm not in a good mood? So you've got to find out what that is first. And then how can I help you? So some of them will tell you different things. It could be, okay, when I'm on my period, I just feel like, for example, for me, even up till now, when I'm on my period, I get very edgy. And it's about communicating it. My daughter knows that. My husband knows that. My daughter will say, when I'm edgy, my daughter will say, Mommy, have you started? And that first thing on my mind is just to laugh, even when I don't feel like laughing, because maybe that's the reason why I'm edgy. So communication is very important. It could be, what can I do for you, Mom? Every time I come home, you ask me to wash the plate. And you say, hey, I go to work every day. I come back doing this. Okay, we can reach a compromise. Okay, the day that you go to school and then you go to your sports club, if I come home early, I can help you wash the plate. What you want to do is win them to your side. Some people say, oh, you are spoiling them. Don't spoil your own. No, I want to spoil mine. If that is what you call spoiling, that we have boundaries, that we communicate, that we have expectations for each other. If that is what you call spoiling, it's fine. If you don't want to spoil yours, it's okay. So we want to win them to our side, such that what does that depression mean? So I can't fully answer that question until it gets to the bottom of the matter, which is, what does that depression mean? But one thing that I know works is getting closer to them. Don't be judgmental with them. If you ask them that question, what can I do to help you? What can I do to alleviate your depression? What does depression look like to you? Sometimes you ask them to draw it. By the time they draw something for you, you ask them, what does this mean? This doesn't look nice. What is it? And that's how you begin to draw this out of them until you get. Questioning is very key. Questioning without judgment is very key. I hope that gives you a bit of clarity.
Thank you, Ma. The next question, what is the best way to handle a 8-year-old daughter that confides in you by telling you that she's crushing on a classmate?
Well, you must be doing something right. So I will say congratulations to you that your 8-year-old actually asked the boss to come to you to tell you that they're crushing on somebody. Did you crush on somebody when you were growing up? Yes, I can tell you I did crush on RMD. I crushed on RMD. I crushed on some people that look nice. So it's human feeling. It could be that and to be honest with you, in this day and age, it's what they watch, what they see. A lot of these kids have grown beyond their age. So what helps is having conversation with them. So obviously you don't want to tell them too much, but from what they tell you, you've got to dig deeper. What does crush mean? How are you feeling about it? What is the least that can happen? What is the most that can happen? But for me, I would be vulnerable to tell them that I crushed on somebody on TV who was on TV. I've never met the person. Is a fundamental human feeling. We can't we there's nothing we can do about it, but it's how you manage it. In fact, sometimes you talk about the crush. Oh, your crush, this person, this person, this person, this your crush, what has happened? And before you know it, it's a phase. You as a parent, you need to educate them that crushing on somebody is a phase, and it's because you have emotions and you have feeling. and you can see everybody like good things. And you continue to, nurture them and direct them, talk to them about, don't shy away from talking to them about it. You can go online and read on it and even share with them, things like that. But it's normal. But the first thing I will tell you, it's a good thing that your child came to you and said, I'm crushing on somebody. And I hope that you didn't judge them. So yeah, that is what I will do. I will, sorry. I would appreciate my child for telling me that, and I'll say, "Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. I understand how you feel because when I was younger too, I had my own crush. Crushing is just part of the face of life. I didn't marry my crush. I didn't even see. I've never seen my crush, but you crush on people due to different reasons. Maybe because the way they look very good. They look handsome. And if your crush is somebody that you see, you don't necessarily have to do anything with them. It's a feeling. If they are your friend, it's fine. You continue your friendship. It's just a feeling, a feeling that will go at some point.
Thank you, Ma. God bless you, Ma. Next question. What can one do when a teenager is in love with worldly music?
Oh. We can pray for them. It's a hard one not to crack. So what we can always do is to speak to them. And even sometimes at home, you can play those music as well. Because not all what we call worldly music are not good. I listen to some, even though I'm a Christian, I listen to some. I also want my child to bring those music home to me. So when there are new musics in town, it's my daughter that brings it first to me. And I don't judge my daughter with that. We just listen to it together. And what sometimes I do, there's some music, the old music that we listen to as well, that we don't understand the meaning, and that until I grew up, I understand the meaning. So sometimes I ask. So for example, some of this obey song, Sunny song, it's not until now that I understand the implication and the reason, what those words mean. So sometimes they don't understand what it means. But you've got to continue to lecture them that this doesn't, what does this mean? Because some of them is like, oh, I want to suck your breast. I want to do this. Is this what you want? Some are conventional that I listen to as well, but don't judge them. Let them bring all the music to you. And then you can now filter it out that, oh, this one I like, I will be listening to it as well, but this one is not godly. That is what we can do. Because the reality is, even when they are not with you, they will still listen to it where they are. We can only pray for them and talk to them. But we can't force them not to listen to what they want to listen to, especially when they are teenagers. Because when they are teenagers, they tell you, if you're telling them, in this house, you can't listen to this, what you are doing is that they may not listen to it. By the time they put their AirPod in, that's what they are listening to. You don't know. When they go out, that's what they are listening to. We correct them in love. And the only way to do that is connecting with them first. Connecting comes before correct. Because they know my mom will correct me in love, not for worldly music. And that's what you should tell them. I don't mind you listening to this music as long as they make sense. But if you are listening to a music and it's saying, oh, come and suck my this, come and what, so that's what we can do. Keep talking to them and keep praying for them. There are some things that I always say that we pick our battles. There are some things that are out of our control because we are not with them all the time. But what we sow in them is what will help them. Sometimes they overgrow it, other times they don't overgrow it. that doesn't make them less of a Christian, to be honest. It's just that behavior is what we don't want. It doesn't make them less of a Christian. It's just that what we feed ourselves affects our mind. It doesn't affect our spirit, because our spirit is our spirit. It does affect our mind. It desensitizes us. And that's why I said you've got to, continue to talk to them. Because once you are desensitized, it's a typical example. A typical example is, and this is very tragic. However, that's the reality. During COVID, I know that the first time we heard that somebody died, or someone like me heard that someone died, the person wasn't close to me. I almost fainted. First time I heard somebody died, who I know, somebody, I almost fainted. But at some point, we had 20 people died, 40 people, 40 million. It's a way of desensitizing us. And you see that when they say 2 million people died now, we will just say, hey, this, because there's a sort of, it's happened before. It's no new news. So it's the same thing. Worldly music that doesn't edify, desensitize our mind towards some things that normally we would say yucky. But because this is what you're consuming, you've opened the gate of your mind to those garbages. So we can only, all of these things I'm saying is just sort of lecturing them, but communicating with them in a very nice way. You can't say everything at once. And you need to keep telling them to bring the music to you. Oh, which new music do you, and you have to be strategic. Don't just say, oh, give me your phone, let me see. No, which new music do you have? Maybe I can find the one I like that I can listen to. And then you look at, say, this one, I like this one. I'll be playing this one. It has good rhythm and it has good message. This one, do you know what it's saying? Oh yeah, listen, tell me the meaning of it. You laugh about it together and then you correct them. They may not listen at that time, but it's archived somewhere. And at some point, they outgrow it and they chuck it out. Some other times they don't. But that is our responsibility, to keep them in the right path. But we've got to do it lovingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma. God bless you, Ma. There is a question I think you've answered during your teaching. It says, how do parents relate to their children during each developmental stage?
Yeah, I've said so many things about that, but that's an ongoing message. Even within the series, there are so many things that we'll be talking about how we relate with our children. We just need to, the core of it is love. You know what the Bible says about, everything hangs on these two. Love the Lord with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. Love your neighbor as yourself. You see, everything in the Bible hangs on these two, love and love. Okay? When we love, so when we go back to the book of Moses, do not harm, do not steal, do not be adulterous, do not be this. It hangs on these two. So what we are saying is love is the center. Love is the center. And so we need to learn the skills of loving one another, loving our children when they are unlovable. Because that was what we need to keep going back to the fact that Jesus did it for us. And he didn't stop. While we were yet sinners, he died for us. That should be our anchor. And that should be what we leverage on to. Lord, help me to teach my children how to love. Well, it's a continuous thing.
Thank you, Ma. God bless you, Ma. Next question: how to handle maturity? How to handle a 6-year-old growing pubic hair and breast?
Okay, so if a 6-year-old grows that means they are maturing early maturity. So it's like also comparing sometimes is the environment we live in, is the food we eat. If you compare an average Nigerian child to an average British child, you would see the difference. That it seems as if physically, bodily, an average British child will mature earlier than an average Nigerian child. Okay, except if there is that gene of built in the Nigerian child. Okay, so there's nothing we can do about it in terms of the build. You've got to teach them what it means. If by the time before they start growing, although you didn't expect it, so you've seen that they start exhibiting this and that, you need to start talking to them about hygiene. You need to start talking to them about a private part and public part. And I'm not of one that say, oh, instead of you saying this is your vagina, I use another name. Vagina is vagina. Let them know nobody should touch this, because because these things are growing. Before you know it, you start your period. For a man, you start masturbating. Please, women, send them to their fathers. I know that sometimes fathers can be very laid back, and I'm sorry, sir, if you're here, and I'm not trying to put anybody down, but fathers are the love of my life, because I work with fathers a lot, and I know they can be laid back in these things, and we are getting better. To be honest, we are getting better. So sometimes if you notice it first for men, try to instigate your husband to speak to your child. If they don't have a relationship, they need to start building it. Just go to their room, sit there. If you want to do your work, do it there. Don't judge them more. Let them do their own thing. Do your own thing. The second time you go there, they'll be thinking, what does this daddy want here? As if then you start, sometimes when my daughter was still little, I will go online, because sometimes by the time she's about to come home, I'll be feeling some sort of palpitation. What will I do? What will I say? Because I'm a disciplinarian, you do it, I give you, but when I realize that that is not working, I'm losing this child, I will go online, look for what is comfortable for me, look for what I can, even icebreaker, conversation opener. And sometimes you can even start by saying something like, oh, I saw my friend or my friend's daughter did this. What do you think about it? This your generation. I don't know how to answer, but what do you think about it? You are trying to draw out our own or his own opinion about it. And you get it. If it's right or wrong, not that moment you start talking about it, depending on how temperamental you are, what your temperament is. If you're very calm, cool, collected, you can talk about it, play about it. But if you know that you are the gas kind of person, so